What you gonna do?
What?
Do you wanna go down?
Huh?
What you gonna do? Do you wanna go down? What you gonna do?
What?
Do you wanna go down?
Huh?
What you gonna do? Do you wanna go down? What you gonna do?
What?
Do you wanna go down?
Huh?
What you gonna do? Do you wanna go down? What you gonna do?
What?
Do you wanna go down?
Huh?
What you gonna do? Do you wanna go down?
Because I'm a beast, I'ma marry you. Flying from the east to the west coast. Make love on the beach with no curfew. If you want a big fish, I'm a shark. Feeling like it is the scenario. Flying from the east to the west coast. Make love on the beach like a sea storm. If you want a big fish, I'm a shark. And I go, with the sea stars. And I go, with the sea stars.
What you gonna do?
What?
Do you wanna go down? What you gonna do? Do you wanna go down? What you gonna do?
What?
Do you wanna go down?
Huh?
What you gonna do? Do you wanna go down? What you gonna do?
What?
Do you wanna go down?
Huh?
What you gonna do?
What?
Do you wanna go down?
Huh?
What you gonna do?
What?
Do you wanna go down?
Huh?
What you gonna do? Do you wanna go down?
Cute girls on the towel doing
Do you wanna go
yoga.
down?
Gold chains on my wrist, you know I told you. A weekend on a boat in California. Please kiss me while I hold you. And so we're going down, yelling hell yeah. I drawn you just because I can't help it. You know we're waiting for this song. With the sea stars. I will be with you till I die, die. When I'm with you, it's alright. I'ma be with you till I die, die. When I'm with you, it's alright. Gotta find a way home. I wonder why no one wants to come. I wonder sometimes if you really want to come. Cute girls on the towel doing yoga. Gold chains on my wrist, you know I told you. A weekend on a boat in California.
let the beauty pull you in. No, just think twice, think twice, think twice. Just take a second to use your head, or you pay the price, pay the price. When you threw out your uniform and you left from school, you didn't have much to prepare you at all. You're out all alone and you're finding your way through life and the games that it plays. You'll find love in the strangest of places. Not saying turn it down, but just use your brain. There are things that are likely to change. So the people around you will never be the same. Before you let the beauty pull you in, oh, just think twice, think twice, think twice. Just take a second to use your head, or you pay the price, pay the price. Just take a second to use your head, or you pay the price, pay the price. Don't let the siren go and pull you in. Oh, just think twice, oh, think twice. Don't go walking, never you will fall through the icy ice, through the ice. Before you let the beauty pull you in, oh, just think twice, think twice, think twice. Just take a second to use your head, or you pay the price, pay the price.
Drifting on the ocean, sometimes I pass by an island, but there's nothing there for me. I move on as the wind blows, hoping to wash up on that shore, and the sand will hold me. Blue, the water and sky, reflection in my eye, and it's true. So true that my life is a seaside, is a seaside, is a seaside, is a seaside. Running from the dark clouds and hard rain. I miss you, your colors. I feel like I'm going under. I'm coasting on a riptide, thinking about your love every day and night. I can't sleep when you're gone. Ooh, the water and sky, reflection in my eye, and it's true, so true. That my life is a seaside, is a seaside, is a seaside, is a seaside. buttering sky, the buttering sky. Buttering sky, buttering sky.
Will you be here when I go? A thousand memories or more. You have always seen the light in me. You have always been the light that I see. 'Cause I'll be the river down in the valley. You'll be the winter that slows me down, that slows me down. When it starts to shiver out on the meadow, oh, you'll be the summer that brings me life, brings me life. That
Als Krake? Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Ladies and gentlemen, please take a seat. Take a seat, please. Miguel? Miguel? The music. Please, everyone, take a seat. We are about to start. Yes, I need it here. Yeah. And Miguel? Miguel? The slide, the first slide. We are about to start. Please take a seat. Maybe grab one last drink. More drinks. Boris? I will announce you. Okay. Come closer. There's enough space. There's a lot of space over here. Don't be shy. Hola. There are also some stools, some chairs over here, and I also see here in the middle a lot of space. Good. All right. Let's start. Welcome. Welcome in Alicante. 50 years anniversary of the iconic ocean race, 14th edition. My name is Cornelius. I'm working for Team Malizia. And today we have our first panel discussion of our Malizia sustainability program that we have organized along all stopovers of the ocean race. It's really a great pleasure to have you here. A warm welcome to all the guests, family of the team, friends, our partners, of course, and also online, because this event is streamed on the internet. Maybe some housekeeping rules. So first of all, I would like to also give, of course, Boris the floor to say hi to everyone and welcome everyone. And then we start with a quick presentation about our science program. And then we have a panel discussion. And I'm also very welcoming you, our panelists today. I will introduce you later and ask you to come to the stage. And it's wonderful to see this packed room here. And I'm very, very excited to guide you tonight through this program. We hope that we end around 8:20, maybe 8:30, let's see. And unfortunately, maybe we will not be able to take questions because the discussion will be so excited. Anyway, Boris, the floor is yours. Please. Does it work? Yes? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Cornelius.
Go a bit there.
Good evening, everyone.
Tech. Yeah, maybe you change the mic.
Hello? Does this work?
Yeah.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Can you hear?
Keep going.
Test. Now it works. Yeah, thank you, Cornelius. Good evening, everyone. Nice to see you. I'm really happy to stand here tonight. Big thank you to all of you. Big thank you to the team who prepared the boat to be ready here for the race on Sunday, but also to the team around Cornelius and Holly to organize this event, which is the kickoff of a series of events around the world along this race. And a big thank you to all the partners among you who are here today, MSC, Zurich, and Kühne Nagel. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the panel discussion. Probably one of the people in this room that I know the longest here is Martin Kramp, who will be on the panel. We have met in Caen, in Brittany, in France. 2008, you remember? And at the time, Martin has been working on a lab that could go on a race sailing boat to acquire ocean data. And we see the fruit and the result of this work today on several ocean racing yachts. The sixth generation of this lab is now deployed, and together with Stefan, who is also here, and the team, they have brought this to completion. This lab stands here on the side, and this has survived the Vendée Globe with us, the last race around the world 2 years ago in the winter. In the toughest conditions, the hottest and coldest temperatures and bounciness of the seas, and we were able to generate the largest ever data track of this kind. And this got submitted to the scientific databases used by international scientists and made its way into relevant documents about climate science. And that's something we are tremendously proud of. It's proud about. It's also the first time that it actually worked out that such a data track has been acquired continuously around the world, non-stop. And this is something we will try again on this race, gather ocean data to help science to better understand climate change, to help the scientists. I think the data is quite relevant. And apart from that, engaging with this data issue and this data topic also helps us to tell our story or tell something about the ocean that we found out in the conversation with these people and with the scientists that work with us, that how important the oceans are for climate change. And we will hear more about this, I guess, today. And this is also something that connects us with our partners, the care for nature, our planet, sustainability in a wider sense. We, together with our partners, created this slogan and this campaign, "A race we must win, climate action now." We need to bring this racing spirit to the climate action, to the transition. But first of all, we cannot manage something we cannot measure. So data in all these aspects of sustainability is quite substantial and relevant. And therefore, just as one example, Kühne Nagel, one of our longest partners here in this group, is working on a platform that's also given its name to the yacht at the end of the day. But we will hear more from Katrin about this in a second. So I will not talk much longer. I wish you all an inspiring podium discussion. and a nice dinner afterwards. We will stay around with the team, and I'm looking forward to a nice evening with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Boris. And now I would like to involve you, the audience. Please go to slido.com. Everyone, you all have smartphones, I guess, right? And type the number. There is no space between the 3 and the 0. Type the number, and then you will be in the space of responding to the question above. Think about the ocean. What one word comes to your mind? Life. What else? Malizia. Breath. Oh, there are long words on the way. Freedom. So more people have, like, the bigger the words grow, the more people have actually typed the same word. Climate change, sailing, whales, blue, relax. I like that. Surfing, oxygen, passion, happiness, adventure, life. Yeah, life is growing. Okay. Waves. Health, indeed. Horizon, vast, wild, love. That would be me. Fish. Beautiful. Okay. Plastic, yeah, of course. We're gonna talk about that, maybe not today, but in another panel. Future. Okay. Freedom is in the center. That's interesting. Okay, let's give it a couple of more seconds. Powerful. Infinity. Interesting, yeah. Biodiversity. Passion. Cool. All right. Okay, I think we can summarize. The ocean means freedom for us. We're going to take a picture of this, by the way, so we will have all the mosaic stones together, and we, not only on the live stream, it will be then also, you will be able to watch this session again on YouTube. But I think the result is clear. It's freedom. Very cool. Okay, thank you very much. And I would like now to quickly introduce the topic. And again, it will be Boris with this little clip.
My name is Boris Herrmann. This is my job, my passion, but of course I depend on the ocean. As my workplace and to do my fascinating sport that I love, I need them to be preserved. And the biggest threats for the wildlife, the biodiversity on the oceans and in the oceans is climate change. The oceans get warmer due to the man-made global warming. They absorb 93% of the excess heat, profoundly changing biology, chemistry in the oceans and being a huge threat to biodiversity. In a race against time, and we shouldn't forget over all the science and debates and discussions that we know clearly what to do. This is a decade where we have to turn around. We need to cut emissions fast. To tackle climate change is, of course, one of the biggest challenges for humanity at the moment, but it's also a challenge for the best ideas and for the fastest pace, because it's a race against time and it's a race we must win.
good to be back in nature. Let's see what's the next challenge.
Cool. Again, thank you, Boris. This is the perfect bridge, actually, to introduce the topic of today's panel discussion: ocean health and climate change. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to put this to the spotlight of the debate, not only because we as sailors, we have the hands-on experience of ocean change and climate change on the oceans, but also it affects us all generations. And this is the topic of all generations, the topic of the future. And we as Team Malizia, we engage with the science program, and already Boris talked about it a bit. And before I also ask the panelists to come to the stage here, I would quickly give you a briefing, an overview about what we do on the science aspects and the education aspects. So, as you have seen it already, we have also here to the right, you see the Ocean Pack, which is a mini micro laboratory that measures the CO2 in the surface water, temperature, and the salinity, so the concentration of the salt. 3 indicators for climate change. The Ocean Pack here, this is the original size, so this is how it looks. It's installed on our Malizia Sea Explorer, on our boat. So some of you maybe already have seen it, others maybe will do the boat tour tomorrow. And the second device we carry alongside the ocean race is this yellow fellow here. This is called an Argo float. It's a robot that dives down and comes up back to the surface and measures also the 3 indicators of climate and ocean change: temperature, salinity, and CO2. And here you see actually a nice souvenir from our Wednesday education program that we have invited like over 60 kids to our team base over here, and they all signed it. And the third device that we're gonna carry along the ocean race is the drifter buoy. You see here Will and Boris throwing a drifter buoy into the water. You see it over here also on the table. And Martin, you're going to explain a little bit the technical setup of this. And it measures the air pressure and the temperature of the water. So this is what we take as scientific devices with us on board during the ocean race. But the underlying facts are that these instruments are super important for the science community to measure the health of the ocean, to measure climate change. And here we see the CO2 concentration. Actually, this is the map, the scientific map from when Boris sailed the Vendée Globe. So you see here the line going down to the Southern Ocean, and this indicates the CO2 concentration in the oceans. Important because of 2 aspects. First, it's one data set in one go, coherent. That makes it easier for scientists to compare. And the second important fact is it's data from the most remote and unexplored ocean regions in the world, the Southern Ocean. You don't have a lot of scientific vessels going there. There's not a lot of like research missions. So this is why this data collection makes it so important. And this is also why we made it to the main German broadcasting stations, the ARD. You see it here. But it's nice to have data, right? It's nice to contribute to science, but who talks about it actually? Who goes out and talks about the results, talks about the consequences, talks about the risks? What does data tell us? And this is why Malizia also has set up the education program under the leadership of Birte, Boris' wife, over there, our ocean educator. And Birte, our mission here is to contribute not only to the science aspects, but also to the education. We go into schools, we invite the kids, we want to teach them about the ocean, we want to inspire them, and to drop them the message that we have to really care about our planet. planet Earth, planet ocean. Over 70% is covered by ocean on our planet. And here you see like a potpourri of nice, events and nice, engagement with kids in Hamburg, but also very important, our kids program, our kids kit, like a booklet that you can download from our website, translated into 11 different languages. And I can tell you, it's not only for kids. You as an adult, you learn a lot. Anyway, now, again, warm welcome. And I would like now to introduce our panel. And I'm asking our panelists, please join me on the stage, grab a microphone, and let's get started. I'm sitting over here. Okay. You want to do a quick mic check? No, I think it all works out. Okay, tonight we have a really special panel because we have a very exotic, I would say, group of people here. First of all, I would like to start with our minority. The only... What? You want to change? Do I smell?
I want to take the ladies in the middle.
You're right. Okay, you're right.
Just wanted to create some excitement.
Yeah, let's start with you, Martin, gentleman. Martin Kramp, Boris already mentioned him. Martin, you're the ship coordinator of Ocean OPS. This is like a joint center, please correct me. It's a joint center of the World Meteorological Organization and the UNESCO IOC. Then next to you, we have Katrin Wolf. Oh, sorry. Katrin Wolf, you are the product manager of Kühne-Nagel's Sea Explorer platform. And then Lucy Dillon, you are senior shipping policy officer at Seas at Risk. We will find out about the risk later as well. We have to talk about the risks. And last but not least, Inga. Inga Lips from the EuroGoose, has nothing to do with birds. EuroGoose stands for the European Global Ocean Observing System. And Inga runs this association as Secretary General. So please, again, a warm welcome to our panelists. So we already have talked about the science pack, the devices that we take, but do we really understand the technical aspects of it? And that's why the first question goes to you, Martin. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about the, let's say, the technical aspects of these devices, how they work, and how many devices do we have actually currently floating around? How many drifter buoys, Argo floats, and ocean packs do we have?
I will answer to that in a minute. Before that, first of all, thanks for having me here today. Boris said we met in 2008. At the time, it was really difficult to convince sailors to participate in science program, and Boris has been a pioneer from the early days and has helped us to convince other sailors. And so, first of all, many thanks to Malizia for pushing this very important topic forward with us. So then, regarding your question, at the moment we have around 1,500 ships on a monthly basis which submit Met-Ocean data many times per day, actually. But those are mostly container vessels or fishing vessels. Well, mostly actually from transportation. So they are mostly on the main shipping routes, and as already mentioned, access to data from the southern hemisphere in particular is very, very difficult. So we need this integrated ocean observing system where we do not go with ships of opportunity or research vessels. We must find other means. And this is why we work with these autonomous devices, Argo floats, we saw the yellow one, or drifting buoys, so that we have really global coverage and can look at the surface of the ocean, in the atmosphere, and also deep into the ocean, with at the moment a total of around 8,000 or 9,000 devices. To run this system, we need scientific institutions from around the world. This is actually what we do in our joint center of IOC and WMO. We coordinate between the different institutes around the world so that we speak with one voice, that we have standardization, that the data flows into the same archives and accessible to scientists around the world. To explain how the device works, I will maybe go over there, hoping that we have no sound issue. So the Ocean Pack you see here, the difficulty is that we work on a racing yacht, which has not so much energy, which is dancing on the waves, where we must find means to get water to measure actually inside of the device. We don't have a lot of electricity normally, so all these are conditions which make it quite difficult to collect ocean data. And this is what we have been working on for many years. And many scientists didn't believe that we will succeed, but we now have what you see here, which is much more than a prototype, which is something which is produced in serial production actually. And it's the first time that in a race we have really scientific devices like this on every participating yacht. So what we do is we pull water into the system. We try to get rid of the bubbles. This is one of the issues with ocean racing yachts. You are like jumping from one wave to the other. To get bubble-free water is very difficult. So the first thing we do is we get rid of the bubbles, and then there is like a system with the water flowing through different sensors where we measure conductivity, salinity, CO2, and so on. And the progress we made over the years is to get water inside. We want to get it from as deep as possible. So in the IMOCA class yachts is now a water inlet relatively deep inside of the keel. So that is also something we're working together, where we made progress with the class, and which helps us now to get water easier into the device. Now that we have the foils, the boats almost fly. It makes our life more difficult again, but Boris asked at the end of the video, what is the next challenge? Well, that is the next challenge, actually. The other device you see here, the drifting buoy, I said that we have 1,500 ships, but not away from the big shipping routes. So when we have those few ships that go into these remote places, we must collect data, as Boris did, but we must also benefit from these few ships to deploy other instruments which stay there for a while. And that is the case here, for example, for this drifting buoy or for the Argo float. He will go there this year, but he will be back in like 20 months or so for the Vendée Globe race. And this device here will help him to have a better weather forecast, but because he will deploy it and it will stay there and help to, well, in the first place, when we get the data in immediate data treatment, it will help increase the quality of the weather forecast. But in the second step, afterwards, scientists will use the same data then to make climate change analysis and so. And now I've been talking for quite a while. Maybe Cornelius, back to you for the next question.
Thank you. And I want to have you back on the stage. Okay, so this was also for me very enlightening, interesting. Okay, we have also Inge here, and from the perspective of, let's say, the ocean engineering part, like you're the guy actually deploying these instruments and you know how they work. One level, let's say, more on the science side is where you work, Inge. And ocean and climate change. Since when do we actually know about this intertwining effects that when we look into the ocean that we also, learn about our climate and the other way around?
We don't know about it very long. Okay, it's working. But as much as, I know, what I have read is that the first connections made in 70s. Because what we are estimating and looking is, we're looking back what was before the industrialization. That means before 1900. And what has happened after that. And the first connections made in the 70s, early 80s, like that.
Okay, so when the ocean race was born, actually, 1973, and also, I mean, we know about these different factors and elements that are indicators of ocean health and climate change, such as temperature, the CO2 concentration, also the salinity. Are there any blind spots? Are there any other factors, scientific elements that we should maybe measure one day on a boat like ours? Is there anything that would also contribute to a better understanding of these effects?
First of all, I would like to correct you a little bit.
Please.
Sorry for that, but I think it's good to make things clear. We have 7 ocean climate indicators, and you are referring all the time CO2 as one of them. Actually, CO2 is used for one indicator, and the indicator is ocean pH. And besides ocean pH, the next indicators are ocean oxygen content, global ocean sea level, sea surface temperature, ocean heat content, also Arctic ice extent volume and thickness. And the last one is the most complicated one, maybe. It's Atlantic meridional overturning circulation, which means that we also need to know how climate change is impacting the water movement in the ocean, because this is a key, and as the huge these currents that we have, these are changing the climate, these are changing our weather quite a lot, and if the climate impact is impacting the water circulation, it also impacts our weather, what we feel. But
that's very interesting. May I follow up on this? So our climate is very much affected by the Gulf Stream, right?
Yeah.
So can you like maybe walk us through the Gulf Stream and the change that we have, like in a few sentences? Like what happens with the Gulf Stream in the next years, the next maybe decades, when we're not turning around our, let's say, course on climate action?
the thing is that we do not have enough measurements to very convincingly say what will happen. And actually the routine measurements of the ocean currents in this overturning circulation started just 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Before that, we have only snapshots. And it's very difficult still to say, because if we want to say the climate effects, we have to have a long-term observations. Because otherwise the annual or decadal dynamics, they will just mess up our understanding. So we have to have a long-term observations for that. And that also relates to all the different kind of observations, not only this water movement. Mm-hmm. But you were also asking where are the blind points and what else we need to measure. I think the current blind point is to going deep, because we are able to observe ocean quite well using satellites from the surface. With Argo floats that Martin just introduced you, we are able to go down to 2,000 meters. But the blind spot is what is going on down after that, deeper than 2,000 meters. Now Argo floats are developed already so that they can go down to 6,000 meters. But we only have few that kind of floats available in the ocean right now. So there is still a lot to do and a long way to go, because as I said, one of the ocean climate indicators is the heat content. Mm-hmm. And if we don't know the heat content deeper than 2,000 meters, it's very difficult also to say about the climate impacts.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a number on the, let's say, the rising temperature in the last, let's say, 20 years in the oceans? Is there like an average number?
Now we are asking questions which needs to be asked before, so I had time to look from the literature. But
estimated?
I know that Lucy might know these numbers better than I do. Lucy, can you help me out?
Not on the temperature, but I can say a bit more about the tipping points and about some of the latest research that's come out in the last year, actually really taking a lot of this data and looking at it from a systems perspective and looking at how the changes in like ocean currents, temperature, Arctic and Antarctic melting, like the impact that has on different systems and the cascading impacts. So if you've got Arctic melting, for example, you've got more fresh water coming into the Atlantic, that impacts the Atlantic Meridian Ocean circulation current. And that leads to a weakening of the Gulf Stream. These things have knock-on effects, and these systems are all changing simultaneously. Now, it's really, really hard to predict exactly what's going to happen as we continue to add heat and we change the chemistry of our atmosphere and of the planet. But there is kind of ranges, there's confidence kind of intervals, like risk factors, as you might think of it, of what each kind of fraction of a degree, how much more risk there is of losing the last of the Arctic sea ice, for example, or, you know, tipping points that lead to, you know, a change from Amazon rainforest to kind of desertification, for example. So, yeah, there's fantastic papers that have kind of brought together all of this tipping point science. In the last year, papers by Armstrong McKay et al. in Science and Nature journals. It's all been covered in the popular press as well in the last year, and this is like really important information that basically consolidates a lot of this fantastic ocean and climate science that's been going on in the field for years, and it's really, really important tool for organisations like the one that I work for, which is an NGO based in Brussels, and we're doing climate advocacy at EU and at a UN level, trying to get people to act on this science. So there's kind of like this whole kind of circle that's going around where there's this continual collection of science, and then, you know, basically people trying to model and come up with scenarios, write papers on it. And then there are people that are taking that science in order to say, okay, you know, this is how we've got to change society or change the way that we're doing business or the like. So I can't say exactly how much the ocean has warmed, but I know that a significant amount, and I think it was in Boris's film, that the heat that's gone into our atmosphere, a lot of that gets absorbed by the oceans, and that's changing the currents and it's changing our weather patterns.
Over 90%, huh? I mean, this is quite a number. Yeah? And thank you. So seas at risk, so you really know the risk. You do the risk management. You also mentioned, Lucy, maybe, yeah? 1.5 degrees since 1901, globally. Okay, so that's quite a number.
It sounds like it's mirroring like the temperature, the average global temperature rise. We're at like 1.2 or 1.3 degrees warmer than industrial temperatures now.
Yes.
So
yes, yeah.
1.3 is 1.5 is set as the ultimate limit. But the projections, different projections, say that it can go over that if we do not act.
Sure. But we also have seen, some of you have maybe recognize it, the different colors on the map with the CO2 concentration. It just shows that the oceans are absorbing the CO2 very heterogeneously. So in different regions you have a higher concentration of CO2, which also leads then to stronger local effects of climate change. Speaking about these risks, do you see any local, regional tipping points where you think we really have to act now here, and it's really endangering the biodiversity and the chemistry of local waters?
Yeah, so in these papers, there's three types of major tipping points. You've got the tipping points of the cryosphere, so that's like the breakdown of ice in the Arctic and the Antarctic, but also the loss of glaciers. Another tipping point is biodiversity tipping points, so things like collapse of coral reefs or Amazon rainforest, and then there's changes to oceanic currents. So that's three kind of types of major tipping point. the tipping points that we're most at risk of crossing, if we don't act now, are the loss of ice in the poles and also coral reef ecosystems, and then Amazon rainforests. And what the science is saying is that we're really close to those tipping points. Like the loss of Arctic sea ice is, it's in the range of I think it's something like 1.3 degrees to, 1.7. It's like we are really close to fundamentally changing what the Arctic and the Antarctic. And we've seen more news stories over Christmas that, the so-called doomsday glacier is really hanging on by a thread, that could collapse in the next decade, and that will have huge repercussions for the planet. And it's very hard to go back from that. We're talking about irreversible changes. A point about a tipping point is you tip into a different system, and it's very hard to go back. And that's why we must act now, and it is not a case of just going, oh, well, we might not reach 1.5, okay, so are we okay with 2 degrees? No, it's not. 1.5 is a limit, it's not a goal, it's not a target. We have every single fraction of the degree that we reduce emissions matters, and it's fundamental to a survival of a lot of ecosystems on the planet.
Yeah. So now we have touched a little bit the science aspects, the data aspects, how to measure the impact of climate and ocean change. But I think data also gives us a lot of opportunity to act, right? On our sails, we have the mission slogan, a race you must win, climate action now. So we don't only want to focus on let's say, being stuck in the risk assessment and looking at the data and just being, sort of paralyzed by it. We want to act, and this is also where our partner Kühne-Nagel comes in. I think, Katrin, it's very interesting that Kühne-Nagel has installed and operates with the Sea Explorer platform. The boat is named Sea Explorer, Malizia Sea Explorer. This is why also this partnership exists. Tell us a little bit more about the platform and how you work with data to mitigate CO2, to reduce the carbon footprint in the overall global logistics and trades. How does it work?
Yeah, exactly. So we launched Sea Explorer in 2018, and about 1.5 years later, our senior vice president for sea logistics got in contact with Boris, and they both found out rather quickly that Kühne-Nagel as well as the Malizia team have both this passion and also innovative solutions to fight climate change. And one of these solutions is Sea Explorer. It is a platform that we provide to our logistics colleagues, but also to our customers, where they have the possibility to optimize their supply chains. It's not necessarily just related to CO2, but it comes to speed. So how long does it take to get from a port A to a port B? How reliable are the options that are provided by the global shipping lines? And in addition to that, how much are these options on time? And then certainly very, very important is also how much CO2 is emitted by these different options. And here we take a lot of data from different sources. So we have, on the one hand, schedule data that we analyze from carriers. We have then also vessel tracking data that we use of container ships. We have our own analytics on the reliability, but then we also use the data on CO2 emissions, where we can then display to our customers what does it mean when we transport, or when carriers transport containers from one port to another. And one very, very good example might be when we take this route between Ningbo, which is a port in Shanghai, in China, to Los Angeles. When we look at all the different options from the different vessels that are provided, we can display to our customers that they can save up to 70% of CO2 just by selecting
the right vessel and the right service. And just to give you a number, what 70% savings would mean, it's about 500 tons CO2 per container that can potentially be saved just by making the right choice.
Wow, okay, I didn't know that. That's indeed a lot. And maybe one follow-up question. Do you know whether these vessels also carry science packs on board? Are they like also involved in collecting data? Is there...
To be honest, I was thinking about this when Martin was talking about it, when he said that these devices are also on cargo vessels. To be honest, I'm not sure, but maybe Martin knows, or maybe also the people from MSC who are in here today, maybe they know more.
I think, Martin, you're good to go.
Well, I said we have 1,500 vessels in the program at the moment which submit basic data, but that is not, in general, not CO2 data. This is atmospheric data, because they know they make, when they provide this data, that makes their navigation safer and also faster. But we don't have the more sophisticated data like CO2 or so. So that is something where I hope we will make progress, that we have these kind of sophisticated devices also on other vessels, to have more data even from these shipping routes where we have already some data. Now, to answer to that question more in detail, well, the point I wanted to make is, in modern shipping, you submit from the container vessels, and so a lot of data already to shore today, and that includes already today some parameters about the atmosphere where we are very interested in. So we could easily, with shipping companies, rise the number of participating vessels easily by exploiting these data, which you, as a shipping company, gather for your own purposes at the moment. We just have to find means to distribute this data and to qualify the data. So we can make the quality a bit better than it is at the moment. We had some trials with that, but that is not rocket science. We can help with getting good measurements from these ships, and there are great opportunities here, and maybe that is something which we can also discuss here over a beer or so afterwards.
Yeah, we need to make sure that we're not confusing like CO2 and environmental monitoring data that's going on these boats sailing around, and the type of data that you need for making business decisions as to what the carbon footprint is of a product going from China to Europe. So already ships that are coming to Europe and calling at European ports have to record their emissions data and to submit it to the European Commission databases. And this is really, really important, because this information then forms the basis of future climate policy for the industry. So, you know, I just want to clarify that we were talking slightly about two different things.
Exactly.
There.
It's different data that we use from the vessels than you measure. So you focus on CO2 in the oceans, and we really take data where we know how much emissions these vessels cause. And that's not necessarily focused on data that we receive from the ocean.
But the mechanism is really like to streamline the operations, the voyages, and by that make it more efficient and reduce the CO2 footprint. I think, and this is for me, this is like really acting, and the other thing is really monitoring and collecting the data. And you mentioned advocacy and policy. Maybe question to you, Inge, because you're basically putting the dots together. You are chairing one of these umbrella associations, bringing together all these research agencies, scientific institutes. Why are you in Brussels? What is the political mission of Eurogoose, of your association, and why are you all engaging also in policy? What is the goal? Bringing more science into politics, or what's the mission?
Maybe before I answer to that question, I would also like to say some words about my association. because not everyone knows that our association is the membership-based association which unites 44 member organizations, either universities, environmental agencies, or research institutions all over Europe. We have 44 members from 18 European countries. And our main goal is actually not the ocean observing as a whole, but we are concentrating on operational oceanography. And operational oceanography means that data which are observed, measured, are delivered rapidly to society, either via different products or services. And services can be something that you even maybe not imagine in your everyday life, that these are coming from the operational oceanographers. For example, if you're looking for a weather forecast, it's also based a lot in ocean observations. And also if you are a surfer and you look for a best place to go for surfing, you look for wave height, which bay has the best options for this day, so you go there. And these are also based on the oceanography measurements. But to talk about the policy and science, I think policy and science always have to work together, because all the policy decisions need to be based on the science. Because if they are not based on good data, good science, we can make wrong assumptions and we can make wrong decisions. And to make good decisions regarding the ocean health and the climate impacts, we really need to make a lot of observations. And of course, we don't have enough resources to measure everything and everywhere. And this is why I would like to now turn a little bit our discussion to Team Malizia and the importance of Team Malizia's goal during that race, that we really need to engage the public also to commit themselves and to contribute to ocean observations, because scientists cannot do everything, but public is very eager to put their own efforts also to that. And as you were showing also with all these ocean literacy activities, awareness raising activities, it's not just children who are very fascinating about the ocean, but when you have maritime days in different countries, our organizations at the Eurogos, they are also putting a lot of effort in the ocean literacy and ocean awareness activities. But for example, in our organization, we are not only working with children and public, but we are also working with other scientists. We are teaching them how to raise awareness among the public, and I think it's very important. But what is also needs to be maybe made clear, that all the observations that we make give us a lot of information, and with collaborative efforts we can get more knowledge about the ocean health and the climate impacts. But what I would like to say also is that we cannot expect the changes to happen fast. So that means that if we are changing our mindset in our carbon footprint, it doesn't mean that next year or after 10 years we can see that change in the ocean. Because in the ocean, the changes are very, very slow. To see the change in the atmosphere, it takes decades, sometimes centuries. That means that we have to be very persistent in our choices, what we are doing. And we have to monitor continuously and routinely long-term different parameters in the ocean. Otherwise, we are just getting snapshots, and these will not help us to understand the processes.
Understood. So I think the change of the mindset, the cultural change, let's say the experience that we have hands-on as sailors on the ocean. I mean, you just typed freedom as the most important word when it comes to the ocean, right? It's like, it's an emotion. So how do you think everyone, the question goes to the entire panel, how do you think we can inspire more people around the world, and using also the ocean race as a platform and opportunity to engage and to really act what would be for you a way to go from here? Maybe Martin?
Well, just continue doing what you already do. We spoke about outreach already here. When scientists speak, the broader public is maybe not listening so much anymore. But when an ocean racer comes and speaks, people listen, and that is really a great opportunity to raise awareness. And so just keep doing, because you're already doing a very, very good job in this matter.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also think sports in general is the best ambassador for things like climate change. We bring so many different peoples together, different countries, different educations, different behaviors, different lifestyles, and we can basically all unite them behind sports, and then behind such a fascinating sport here, like this ocean racing.
Lucy?
I think it's really inspiring that there's so much data being collected. I think it's really important for there also to be, citizen science programs that enable people to contribute. That's really important to, in generally broadening scientific literacy. We need that as civil society activists. Trying to shape policy, we've also got a job to do to bring the information to policymakers and to say, this is real, this is the evidence, we have to act on this evidence, and it's definitely it's more powerful when it's coming from lots of different angles. Like when you're bringing a lot of different data and you're saying, look, this is the situation, we've got to do something about that now. So I think that's really important, and bringing getting people, inspired, and getting climate conversations, ocean conversations into places where they wouldn't normally be happening. Getting it into the mainstream is really critical, because, this problem isn't going to be solved just by climate scientists or activists. It's like we've all got to become ocean and climate activists in whatever we're doing. We've got to make different choices. We've got to shift our economy. We've got to change the way we live our lives, the way we move around, the way we make things, where we get things from. Like, this is a huge challenge, and we've got to motivate everybody wherever they are to take on this challenge. And I think races like this and data that's been collected through this is really powerful tool to bring more people into this race.
Thank you, Lucy. Inga?
Yeah, maybe I would also pick up from Lucy. I think the engagement is the key. And like I said, we don't only have to engage the young generation, but also the older generation, and not only the school children, but also the private sector. And when people see that they can contribute, and they can see that the data they have collected or the actions they have made are seen somewhere, then they also get more inspired. We have very good experience, for example, in our Eurocross community, working with different shipping companies, installing measuring devices on board of cargo ferries and passenger ferries. And it has been really fascinating to see even the simple mechanics to get really interested and helpful and asking a lot of questions. And if you also put then screens on the top level on the deck, so that all the passengers can also see what are these right now, the temperature, when we are passing this area, what is the chlorophyll concentration in the surface water. When it's like brought to you, you start caring more. And like Martin said, sometimes people get tired maybe of scientists. They say, oh, scientists, they live in their own world. But if simple people like Team Malizia, like the other ones, like citizens in different parts of the world, when they have ability also to contribute to ocean measurements, this is already a mindset, and they will start caring about the nature. And also, when you are talking with seagoers, whatever, are they surfers or swimmers, they don't like dirty sea and unhealthy environment. They would like to see a lot of colorful fishes. They would like to see coral reefs. But when you explain them that it's all depending how they act, and if they change their different actions and ability, different how you say, yeah, then they can make a change. You really just have to engage everyone.
Absolutely. Also, we have in our team Elaine Katz, she's our communication manager, and she studied science communication. And I didn't know before that this exists. So this also highlights the importance that we have to have a common language, right? When we talk about the ocean, when we measure data, when we are working professionally in different fields, I think a platform is necessary to exchange, and this is the ocean race, and this is why we're going around the world, stopping by in different regions and engage with local communities and making also climate change visible, the impact of climate change visible, but also focusing on paths of solution and try to really bring everyone together around the table. And that's what we have done today. Thank you very much. I have one last question for you, because actually I wanted to do this in my intro, but I asked our panelists beforehand to tell me their most, let's say, popular sea animal. And now I would like to start with you. Martin, what is your most favorite sea animal?
It's the octopus.
Why that?
Well, actually, people sometimes call me the octopus. Many arms, many projects, and I try to connect them all and exploit the synergies. And I personally love the octopus with a lot of garlic from the barbecue, because it's so delicious.
Okay. Catherine?
Well, for me, it would be the orca, because I think on the one hand they are very beautiful animals. They are very intelligent and they are very social. So that's why I think the orca is really an awesome animal.
What's yours, Lucy?
Well, if you were to ask my son, he would also say orca, because he has a cuddly orca. But to this question, I said a copepod, and so a copepod is. It's a plankton that migrates on a daily basis, huge distances, and it's kind of has this quite cool dealy boppers. If you see it on a picture, it's got these little tufts, and it's a really, really fundamental part of the ocean food web. It's kind of like the base of the food chain, and it's a very, very important carbon pump. So these plankton grow, and then they die, and then they fall as carbon rain to the bottom, and it's really, really important for basically sucking CO2 out of the atmosphere and storing it away. But they are vulnerable to changes in ocean chemistry and also from pollution. So that's why I chose the copepod.
Copepod, okay. I learned another ocean animal today. Thank you. Inga, what's yours?
Oh, my first thought was also orca, because these creatures are just fascinating. But then I started to think about what I have studied 25 years. By profession, I'm a phytoplanktologist, so I have been looking through microscope all this microscopic world. And during the last 15 years in my career, I found a wonderful creature which is belonging to the lower trophic level. It's a microzooplankton. It's like a dew-ball snowman with a hairy waist, and its activity and actions are so strange that it really doesn't fit into the picture when you start studying it. It's an animal, microscopic, size range from 10 microns to 50 microns, really small one, very important in the food web because it helps to regenerate nutrients. It acts like an animal. It eats small plants, small phytoplankton species, but then it gets crazy because instead of ingesting the whole animal or the whole plant, it just keeps the chloroplast and uses them to photosynthesize. So we are talking about animal photosynthesizing. He is a very efficient photosynthesizing organism. It can grow in very high quantities so that the water turns to red, and it acts like phytoplankton in the water. And if you now want the story to get even more crazy, then this animal has he is a prey to a phytoplankton species. So we have a food web which is totally upside down. When we have in the first part is a phytoplankton, then it's a microzooplankton, and then it's a phytoplankton again, which eats microzooplankton.
Oh, wow.
So, and steals the chloroplasts, which this animal stole from this smaller creature. So it's a very complicated and very fascinating world.
Wow, okay, real science talk here.
Cornelius,
impressive.
There's something else I wanted to say, wearing my blue hat. So we are in the early years of the United Nations Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development, which also underlines how important the ocean is when we speak about climate change. Ocean change and climate change, they are so much related, and I hope that is also maybe one of the results we have at the end of the ocean race, that we show, hey, we have such a difficult platform like an ocean racing yacht, and we can gather so much valuable data that we can show that this can be done by other platforms, devices which go in undersampled areas, and that this helps us to get more data from the undersampled regions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
And use it for ambitious climate policy.
Yes, absolutely. No, on all levels. By the way, my favorite sea animal is the seal. You know, chilling in the sun on the beach and eating. With that, thank you so much. A big applause for our panelists. Yep. Oh yeah, good point. Inga just reminded me of something. Like, this was actually one of my last questions. A wish to Team Malizia from the panelists. What are your wishes to the team and to the start of the ocean race? Inga.
I wish you a safe journey, good wind, because without wind you are not sailing, because we don't want to use fuel to move along your trip. I also wish you inspiring meetings at your stopovers and a lot of good ideas from the audience you are meeting. And last but not least, I'm a scientist. I wish you bring back a lot of good data.
Thank you. Lucy?
Yeah, I hope you win, and I hope we all win, and we keep the temperatures below 1.5 degrees. And I hope that this summer we get a really strong climate plan for the shipping industry, because it's all happening this year, and I want to see the shipping industry cutting its emissions by 50% by 2030, and we need zero by 2050. That's what we need to win the climate race for the shipping industry.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, certainly also from my side, I would just echo what Lucy and Inga said. So have a great race, have a great team performance, enjoy life on board, although it might get tough once in a while. And I would also say, take the spirit and take this passion to continue spreading the climate or the fight for climate change around the world during the race.
It's certainly a childhood dream which you're going to live here. So doing that by collecting so much important data is just beautiful and nice. And thank you so much for that. Enjoy, go there, come back, and go out again. Thank you.
Thank you. Duly noted. Now I would like to close the panel. I wish you a wonderful evening, lots of good conversations. Mingle around, ask the questions from the audience. As I said, we couldn't take the Q&A. Enjoy, have a drink, grab some food. Good night, and tomorrow see you at the boat.
If only you could see the pain. If only I could walk 1,000 miles to get to you. If only I could walk away. If only I could feel where you